Well, it's good to be proven right by their own cast, no less. Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, folks. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power's actors confirm show aims to erase Tolkien's work for the sake of modernity. So let's get into this. This is from John F. Trent at Bounding into Comics. The Lord of the Rings of Power actors completely stripped away any kind of facade that might have been built for the Prime Video series, that it would be faithful to Tolkien's literary works, of which it is based off of. Instead, they made it abundantly clear that the show is dedicated to modernity in spite of Tolkien's work and his clear criticisms of it. Sophia Namvedi, or whatever her name is, I don't care at this point, who plays Princess Disa in the show, you know, the beardless dwarf woman that, well, dwarven women have beards, spoke to PA Media, where she claimed she is the face of a necessary redress of balance. Well, isn't that ego? She went on to detail, we are redressing the balance within the film and television industry, and of course the franchise. I hope lots of franchises moving forward. The fact that they all claim to be underrepresented is ridiculous. These are the best people for the roles, but what they've done is open up the doors for people of all backgrounds to come forward and have the opportunity to rise, she lied. Namvedi then made it abundantly clear the show has nothing to do with Tolkien's work, other than the name of the series and characters. She stated, to be part of creating accessibility for generations to come, for new generations, this is their version of Tolkien. This is what my daughter will see of Tolkien's works. No, she won't, because this isn't Tolkien's work. Continuing on. Ugh, stupid laptop. Namvedi then made it clear that the Rings of Power is actually an erasure of Tolkien's work, and the whole point of the show is to reflect the modern world rather than reflect Tolkien's work. She explained, it's their time and it's so important, and I hope many people will see this fantasy and be able to relate to it. This is a reflection of the world we live in. There are many, and we are different, and we will embrace and discover and peel back and learn and educate and be educated. So, they don't want to tell the story of Tolkien. They want to tell the story of the real world, apparently, in a dressed up Tolkienish way, which isn't Tolkien at all. And we can only do that when we embrace and love our differences. The thing is, Tolkien's universe was incredibly diverse. It's just not the way that they wanted it to be. There was many races, many beings that were of different origin. Namvedi then asserted, to be the poster child and to fly the flag, being a mother, being a woman, being a person of color, being a curvaceous woman, deemed as a thing of beauty, is something we don't always see. So that image of Disa, that is all of those things personified in a face, and it happens to be my face, she said. This woman's ego is astounding. Ismael Cruz Cordova echoed Namvedi's claim that the show is an erasure of Tolkien's work, saying the awareness of diversity with Tolkien's original source material has grown. The cinematic world that Peter Jackson created has immense value, but we've shifted lenses since then. The conversation is different, he continued, right now. But going back to the source material, the world is diverse, not only in race, but also in thought. It is a diverse mix, and now we're just adding people from diverse backgrounds, Cordova added. Cynthia Adai Robinson, who plays Muriel, also stated, "This cast is truly global. Everyone sort of has their frame of reference in terms of their culture, their heritage, and what it means to them, their language. Part of the story we're trying to tell is you have people of different races coming together to defeat a common enemy. You're trying to look at this through a modern lens, and your world is global, and people now expect to see this kind of world globally represented." No, they don't. Not when it comes to Tolkien. Even when I'm seeing different posters popping up, the title in the show is in how many different languages. It's a beautiful thing, she proclaimed. The castmates echo what executive producer of the series, Lindsay Weber, told Vanity Fair back in February. "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like." Well, that's not what Tolkien's world actually looks like. She explained, "Tolkien is for everyone. His stories are about his functional races doing their best work when they leave the isolation of their own cultures and come together." One moment, folks. I apologize if that got loud. This assertion is utterly ridiculous, as anyone who has read The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, or any of Tolkien's other works about Middle-earth knows the orcs really did their best work under the guidance of Saruman when they decided to besiege the Hornburg at the Battle of Helm's Deep. Or how about the Haradrim and the Easterlings joining with Sauron and his army of orcs and trolls led by the Witch King of Angmar during the Battle of Pelennor Fields? Really good work there. The claim is just utterly absurd and doesn't hold up to simple questions. In letter 131 to Milton Waldman, Tolkien offered a different explanation as to what he believed was necessary for myth and fairy story writing. Myth and fairy story must, as all art, reflect and contain in solution elements of moral and religious truth or error, but not explicit, not in the known form of the primary real world. I am speaking, of course, to our present situation, not of ancient pagan pre-Christian days, and I will not repeat what I have tried to say in my essay, which you read. In letter 181 to Michael Straight, Tolkien reiterated this idea. There is no allegory, moral, political, or contemporary in the work at all. It is a fairy story, but one written according to the belief I once expressed in the extended essay on fairy stories, that they are the proper audience for adults. Because I think that fairy story has its own mode of reflecting truth, different from allegory or sustained satire or realism, and in some ways more powerful, he continued. Tolkien then detailed, but of course, if one sets out to address adults, mentally adult people anyway, they will not be pleased, excited, or moved unless the whole or the incidents seem to be about something worth considering more, example given, than mere danger and escape. There must be some relevance to the human situation of all periods. So some of the teller's own reflections and values will inevitably get worked in. This is not the same as allegory. I'm sorry for the background noise, folks. There's a lot of work going on. He further elaborated, we all in our groups or as individuals exemplify general principles. but we do not represent them. The hobbits are no more an allegory than they are, say, the pygmies of the African forest. Gollum is to me just a character, an imagined person, who, granted the situation, acted so and so under opposing strains, as it appears to be probable that he would. There is always an incalculable element in any individual, real or imagined. Otherwise, she would not be an individual, but a type. One thing is clear. Prime Video and their cast for The Lord of the Rings of Power, do not respect J.R.R. Tolkien's work and are fully embracing its destruction. Unfortunately for them, Tolkien's work still lives on, no matter how much Prime Video and Amazon Studios will attempt to distort and malign it in their television series. So yes, folks, as I have been saying, and as now the actors have clearly pointed out, it's not about telling Tolkien's work, it's about destroying it and saying, we're going to put in our interpretations of his work, and we're not going to tell his stories, but instead we're going to modernize it. We're going to show it as the world is today, not with what Tolkien's world was. I'm sorry, folks, there is no such thing as black elves in Tolkien's work. There is no such thing as black dwarves in Tolkien's work. There is no such thing as that in Tolkien's work. It's unfortunate that people are so worried and so shallow in their belief system that they can only identify with somebody because of the color of their skin and not because of the content of their character. It is very disturbing that these people who claim to be so oppressed don't realize that if they were oppressed, they wouldn't be where they are in real life. They wouldn't be actors. They wouldn't be any of that. Because they're supposed to be oppressed. This is all a bunch of bullshit. And that is why this is not Amazon Lord of the Rings. This isn't even Lord of the Rings in name only. This is just the Rings of Power, and it is not Tolkien's work. That is why I will not watch this show, and that is why I encourage people to not watch it. If you are a fan of Tolkien, you won't watch this. Because this isn't Tolkien. This is an insult to Tolkien's work. And if you have any sort of common sense, you would actually come to that conclusion. That's going to be the video, folks. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think of what you have just learned from this article? That they don't care about Tolkien's work. They only care about modernity and representation and diversity. Fuck Tolkien, we want representation. Anyway, folks, this has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.